The bar smelled of oil and ozone, the way every station bar seemed to when orbiting a shipyard on the fringes of charted space. Smoke from spice cigars curled through the air, clinging to the steel ceiling like ghostly hands. I nursed a drink, something vaguely resembling whiskey, though it burned twice as hot and left the tongue feeling like it had been dragged over a plasma torch. My eyes drifted over the crowd, mostly spacers and mercs, people who lived short lives in hard places. That's when I heard him. The Carthaxian sat 2 tables away. His scaled hide polished to a shine, armor plates etched with battle scars he wore like medals. His voice boomed above the chatter, drawing a crowd of half-drunk listeners. "And that was the 3rd one," he crowed, slamming a clawed fist against the table. 3 Deathworlders in a single cycle. No other hunter in the quadrant can claim that. The room erupted in a mixture of laughter and awe. Someone whistled. A human woman at the counter rolled her eyes but kept listening. Deathworlders. The word alone turned heads. Every species in the galaxy knew what it meant. Natives of planets classified as hostile to life, places where gravity crushed bones, atmospheres corroded lungs, predators hunted with intelligence rivaling machines, and even the plants sought blood. Humans, for all our stubbornness, were only borderline Deathworlders. Earth barely qualified. But there were worse. Much worse. The Carthaxian's name, I learned from his bragging, was Jurok. A hunter by his telling of the highest prestige. He leaned back in his chair, letting the lamplight glint off his teeth. I stalked them through the ash forests of Keva Prime, through the lava tunnels of Tarvos 6. You've never known battle until you've watched a Deathworlder bleed out on the ground before you. They're strong, yes, dangerous even. But in the end, they fall like all the others. The crowd murmured admiration. And then she spoke. Her voice cut through the haze like a knife, low, clear, and sharp enough to still the laughter. Did any of them walk away? The crowd parted slightly, and my gaze landed on her. She was tall, draped in a travel-worn cloak, hood shadowing her features. But as she stepped closer, I caught the faint glimmer of her eyes, silver reflecting light like polished steel. The room shifted uneasily. Even Jurok, for all his bravado, hesitated before forcing a chuckle. Walk away. Deathworlders don't walk away. They crawl, they beg, and then they die. I made certain of it. The woman tilted her head, studying him like one might a curious insect. Then, without a word, she pulled back her hood. The crowd gasped. Her skin bore a pattern like midnight marble, veins of pale luminescence tracing beneath it. A ridge of bone crested her brow, subtle but unmistakable. Her hair was dark as void, braided in strands woven with metal beads. Recognition spread. Whispers passed like sparks. "Deathworlder," someone muttered. I felt the air leave the room. My own heart hammered. She was one. Jurok's eyes narrowed, his bravado faltering. But pride was a hard drug to let go of. He bared his teeth in a grin. Then perhaps I'll add another kill to my tally tonight. The woman's silver eyes didn't waver. She stepped closer, movements measured, deliberate, like a predator circling prey. "You hunt us," she said softly. "But tell me, hunter, when they died, did they scream?" Jurok bristled. "Some did. Did they fight to their last breath?" "They all did." She leaned forward until her gaze locked with his. The room was so quiet I could hear the hum of the station's reactor through the walls. "Then you never killed a true Deathworlder." Jurok snarled, slamming his hand against the table hard enough to splinter the wood. But the sound didn't mask the unease threading his growl. I didn't know why I stayed silent, why I didn't leave when the tension turned razor-thin. Maybe it was morbid curiosity. Maybe it was something deeper, some human instinct that whispered this was history unfolding. The woman straightened, cloak shifting around her frame like wings folding. "My name is Sira," she said, voice carrying the weight of storms. "I am from Athen 4. We do not die crawling. We do not die screaming. When one of us falls, another rises. When another falls, still another takes their place. That is what it means to be a child of a death world." Jurok sneered, though sweat glistened on his scaled brow. "And yet you stand here alone." Her lips curved, not in amusement but in something colder. "Do I?" The room seemed to bend around her words. For a heartbeat, I swore the air grew heavier. And then movement. At the edge of the bar, 3 figures rose. Each cloaked, each carrying the same silver gaze. More Deathworlders. They had been here all along, quiet shadows waiting. Jurok's face paled beneath his scales. The crowd stumbled back, suddenly unsure whose side survival favored. Sira's eyes never left the hunter. "You brag of numbers. You measure life in trophies. But answer me truthfully now, hunter of Deathworlders. Did any of them walk away?" Jurok opened his mouth. No sound came. She stepped closer until her hand rested against the scarred table between them. "I will tell you," she whispered. "They did. They walk in us. In every breath we take, in every step we walk. You hunted bodies but you never killed spirit. That is why you are afraid now." I swear the air itself cracked in silence. Jurok, once so proud, pushed back from the table. His claws trembled, though he tried to hide it. Without another word, he turned and stormed out of the bar. The doors hissed shut behind him. Only then did the room exhale. The crowd broke into whispers, some fearful, some reverent. No one dared laugh. No one dared mock. Sira lowered her hood again, silver eyes flicking toward me briefly, as if she knew I had been watching. Then she and her companions vanished into the station's corridors, shadows swallowed by shadows. I sat there long after they were gone, the echo of her words lodged deep in my chest. The middle, a fractured galaxy. Days later I heard the stories spread. Jurok, the so-called hunter of Deathworlders, had left the sector entirely. Some said he was seeking easier prey. Others claimed he'd been found dead in his quarters, eyes wide as if staring into the abyss. But Sira, her name spread too. Whispers painted her as a leader of something more. An awakening. Deathworlders, once scattered and hunted, were gathering. Not just to survive but to stand. To remind the galaxy that while their worlds broke bones and tore flesh, they forged spirits unyielding. I couldn't shake her words. They walk in us. Because wasn't that what it meant to be human too? Our ancestors had clawed their way through ice ages, storms, plagues, predators, wars. Yet we kept walking. Even Earth, fragile compared to Athen 4, had carved warriors and dreamers from its soil. We weren't the strongest, nor the fastest. But we endured. And endurance, I realized, was the truest mark of a Deathworlder. The ending a choice made. Weeks later, I found myself on a transport heading toward the frontier. Not for work. Not for coin. For something else. When Sira's companions appeared on the ship, silent and watchful, I didn't flinch. I stood, walked to them, and asked the only question that mattered. Where do I start? They measured me in silence, their silver eyes unblinking. And then one of them nodded. Sira was right. Some walked away. And I would walk with them.